Hey there, everyone. Before we start the show, we here at Popcorn for Dinner want to give a big shout out to our good friend and illustrator, Kyle Kedzik, for helping us celebrate making it to 40 episodes with some brand new custom artwork, which is now up on all of our social media accounts. We love it. We hope you love it. And if you're looking for some new custom artwork for your business or project, you can look him up on Facebook at Kyle Kedzik, or even drop him a line at kylekedzik@gmail.com. That's KYLEKEDZUCH@gmail.com. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
November has started, brand new month.
You.
And this month we are doing our first director month, as opposed to an actor month or something like that, or a theme month. This one specifically director-based, which is pretty cool, especially for us, based on the fact that this particular director sets everything he does in the suburbs of Chicago and Chicago itself. So that's super fun. Always love seeing places. I didn't necessarily notice anything in here where I was like, oh my God, that place, he used that place. But when I was looking up on it, I saw a bunch of like communities that I know. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like Evanston, and they shot high school scenes in Niles and all that kind of stuff, where to anyone else in the world, it's like, oh, okay. But here it's like, oh, I know that place.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I've been there.
Yeah. So this month is John Hughes Month.
Yes.
And to start it off, we are actually starting with his directorial debut, which is the 1984 American coming-of-age comedy 16 Candles. This is obviously like a huge thing in the world. Like this was not like a flew under the radar kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's a very big like cultural thing, but I had never seen it. You had seen it though.
I had seen it once or twice years and years ago. So there were bits and pieces that as we were watching, I was like, oh, right, this is going to happen. Oh, right, that person's in this movie. So we'll get to, I'll point those out as we get to them. But
do you recall how old you were when you saw it?
I was actually late teens, I would say. So
you weren't necessarily like the exact.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh my God.
Yeah. But I was close enough. I would say probably like 18, 19. So it's not like I was that far off from it.
That's true.
So it was impactful enough at the moment. Like, I know those feels.
I guess it's just a little different than, because I was imagining like if you were younger than Sam, Molly Ringwald, which is wild that she was actually 15 making this movie.
That I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Her and Anthony Michael Hall were both actually like 15. And it shows.
Yeah.
You can really tell that these are like, I fully believed that those kids were sophomores.
Oh, yeah.
The seniors, not a chance.
No.
They were all in their mid-20s.
Of course.
That one dude, when Jake is doing those pull-ups and it's like the two shot of him and the other guy, it was like you see Jake come up and it's like, okay, you're already kind of pushing the boundaries, but I kind of get it from the point of view of like, I remember when I was a freshman and sophomore, like some of those seniors looked like full-on adults to me.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, okay, I get that. And then his friend comes up for his first like pull-up into the frame, and I was like, that man's 30 years old.
Yeah.
This is not a high school student.
That's the teacher, right?
Yeah, right? Like that's the PE teacher, right?
Yeah.
That's his dad, right? I don't know what's happening here. I mean, Anthony Michael Hall as the geek, like, I think he gives a really good performance throughout the movie, especially for being 15.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate how horribly his character has aged.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, it took until that car scene in the shop class when he finally talks like a human for me to be like, okay, I don't hate every time this kid's on screen now.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even as he still does kind of horrible stuff, it at least had like humanized him to the point where it's like, okay, I can actually watch this and appreciate his performance.
Yeah.
Because at first, like that first scene on the bus,
Yeah.
where it was just like, okay, so you literally immediately invade her privacy and personal space, and she tells you no like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's just such a bummer, you know, for that, like the vibe they were going for, where it was like, see, he's like geeky and he won't get the girl because he doesn't have the moves.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you don't feel bad for him anymore in this current world. Like you no longer have that like, tough luck guy.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there. Like I wrote a couple of times, I was just like, dude, leave her alone. I didn't want to watch it.
You're being such a creep.
Yeah.
Back the fuck up.
It was the very beginning of that scene, that car scene, that made me do that, where it was like, okay, so he bothers her on the bus, and then he bothers her at the dance, and she literally she turns around and is like sobbing about something, I think. Or no. She turns around because Jake looks at her.
Yeah.
And then she turns right into Ted, who starts dancing like a jackass, and then she's just like, boom, right out the door.
Yeah.
At this point, she wants absolutely nothing to do with you. And then she's sitting alone, sad in that car in the shop class. And he like waltzes into frame. And I'm like, dude, leave her alone.
Yeah.
Where is this going? There's no way it ends up with those two together. It's like, absolutely not. I cannot see that. What is the point of this? And it was essentially to like finally cross over
Yeah.
Sam and her crush. And I feels a little bad talking about about Anthony Michael Hall first, because of the fact that like the star of this movie is clearly Molly Ringwald.
Yes. I love Molly Ringwald.
She is fantastic. I wrote down several times throughout it that I was just like, she's just so good.
She really is.
It's the one line that I had specifically, I mean, there were a whole bunch, but it was the like smiling. It was when they were looking at Jake's girlfriend in the shower and watching her shower, and she just kind of has this like sort of fake smile on her face and just says, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
And then like next scene,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god, that's the greatest. But truthfully, like the moment that kind of like, okay, here we go, was that like brilliant going into the opening credits line. They fucking forgot my birthday. Bam! Right into the credit.
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I can understand why people, if they like sat down and read that script, as soon as that happened, they were like, oh, here we go. Like that's such a great hook line to like start the movie with.
Yeah.
And she fucking nails it. And it's so good. Like that like teenage disdain.
Yes.
Where it's like, you're not even full of rage. It's not even like you're going to start screaming.
Yeah.
It's just that like seething, cynical, like they fucking forgot my birthday, of course.
Yes.
Oh, man.
The teenage angst.
Yeah, she nails it.
Yes.
It's awesome. Like it's frustrating and annoying, but that's because it is. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's like there's no way
to life.
Yeah, there's no way to hold it against her or be like, this character sucks. It's like, no, she's a teenage girl.
Yeah.
Dealing with this thing that is like, it's so maybe not surprising, because I guess back then he was probably younger, because I don't really know that much about John Hughes, but in my head, I just imagine this like older guy. And it's like, oh man, like all these kids movies that he made, like how does he do that? And it's like, well, for his first movie, I bet he was only in his like 30s or something, you know? So it's not like he was so far removed from childhood that it was like, how could he write such believable teenage angst? It's like, well, I mean, if you're like 34 or whatever, because I think he was born in 1950, so if this was 84, he's only in his like early 30s.
Yeah.
It's like you can still somewhat access that kind of stuff. Like you still remember it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're like, what was I like? What happened? But yeah, it's astounding how well that kind of stuff is written, and how well she performs it.
It felt like, and I remembered like having the same sort of feeling when I first saw it, you know, years ago, that like it feels like watching a movie about a friend sort of situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so perfect and accurate. And there's like the awkward moments are real life awkward. It's like,
all those times where Jake looks at her and she just like, what?
Yeah.
Like leaves the room for no reason. Like in a logical sense, you're like screaming at her, like, what do you do? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And then she starts saying that to herself. And you're like, oh, right, teenager.
Yes.
Like you do something dumb and then you're like, why would you do something so dumb?
Yeah.
And it's pretty brilliant. I like that stuff. And there was the two scenes with her parents, like really the two emotional scenes of her with her family. Because a lot of the stuff with the family is like either really just like that, like kind of like cringy humor of like the grandparents fondling her and like the like little brother being a shithead and embarrassing her. That was rough when he called her birth defect right at the beginning. He's like, hey, birth defect. I was like, holy fuck. Yeah. That's nasty.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is it about her red hair? Is it because nobody else has red hair in the family? That was my thought.
Yeah.
I was like, he started calling her that. Like, that's shitty. And the fact that her parents aren't like, dude. Like, that they don't reprimand. At most, they're like, come on.
Yeah.
That beginning had a very Home Alone feel to me, which John Hughes also wrote. The whole, like, everyone getting ready, all this stuff. And the, like, forgotten child kind of thing. Yeah. That's a great dramatic spot to have the kid to be like, there's the younger brother who is obviously kind of like whatever, you know, it's like he doesn't necessarily demand a lot of attention, but since he's younger he probably gets it. And then the older sister who's getting married, so there's all of that going on, so then there's that perfect forgotten child you know, like slot for the character to fill in and just be like right off the bat there's all of that like tension and drama between everybody in the family essentially.
And there's apparently only one bathroom
as usual. That feels like that's always how it is, like in these movies, where it's like, we have a whole bunch of people staying in the house and it's a gigantic house and there's one bathroom. Like, what?
It's like there's not even another half bath somewhere that you can go like pee in the morning,
really,
or have grandpa go do his business in the half bath. And then everyone else can shower and everything in the other one.
There's an outhouse for grandpa.
It seems like there should be.
Yeah, really. I did think it was a little odd, but maybe it's just me. Maybe it was the time. But when she's on the phone with her friend at the beginning and she's talking about how like, oh, I woke up and I wasn't any different. Still looked 15. I haven't changed at all and all that kind of stuff. And it just made me think, like, was turning 16 like a big thing for people? Because it really, like, it was not a thing for me. It had, like, maybe it's more a girl thing?
It is.
Is that it? Okay.
It is absolutely a girl thing. The whole Sweet 16.
It's like, I know of that. I'm not like I'm not a total dope who's like, ooh, what's that about? Like, I know, like, 16 has a thing.
I guess it's like the American culture version of a quinceañera sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's, you know,
just another thing we stole.
You're becoming a lady sort of like big party celebration.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even remember what my quote unquote sweet 16 was.
Yeah, I mean that's just sort of the vibe that I had, was like, there was nothing surrounding that. Like, I never had it's like, maybe, I don't even remember being like, oh yeah, now I can get my license or something. It wasn't even a thing like that. It was just like, oh, 16, that's one more than 15.
Yeah.
Like, that was the extent of it. So people being like, her being so obsessed over it seemed so foreign to me.
Yeah.
She's like, that's odd, but I guess it really isn't odd.
Yeah, no, especially for more affluent families.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because that's the year that, you know, you get your license, so you get a car so that you can just drive yourself to school and drive yourself to the mall and stop bugging your parents. And yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it also makes it that much more harsh that nobody remembers it. Or it's like, this is the most important one to me.
Yeah.
So I guess it does make sense for that to be like a big thing for her to forget. I guess my thing is like, it's like I could see it being very easy to be like, fucking first world problems here. They forgot your birthday. Oh no. They'll remember eventually and they'll apologize and it'll be fucking water under the bridge and this is the worst day of your life. But I think the movie does a good job of putting you in the headspace of her so that you kind of feel it more than you would if it was just like, if someone was just like, hey, so this really well-to-do little kid, their parents forgot their birthday. And you'd be like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
There's real problems. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like, oh, you're in there with her.
But it's Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, it's Molly Ringwald's birthday.
In that case.
Yeah, I'll make an exception. And her like wonderfulness throughout the movie, it was a little bittersweet when like probably about 40 minutes into the movie, she kind of just like goes to bed. And a bunch of other shit happens way elsewhere that has barely anything to do with her.
Yeah, like it all
for like a half an hour.
Yeah, it all kind of circles back and closes up in the end.
Yeah, but it was so like I was honestly okay. I'll put it this way: I wrote down right at the very end. So Sam goes home crying from the dance.
Mm-hmm.
Where she like fails to make her move with Jake or whatever. He's like right there.
Yeah, and she fails to woo him.
Yeah, she fails to woo him and goes home to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
And then sleeps on that couch.
Yeah.
Till the next morning when they go to the wedding, and then she eventually sees everything. She goes home from the dance and goes to bed.
Mm-hmm. Has a chat with her dad.
Yeah, which was great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was like, why are you sidelining Molly Ringwald? Like, why is she suddenly getting put on the bench and you're putting all of the fucking comedic female stuff? I mean, not to say that it's like, Molly Ringwald, that hilarious actress. Like, it's not like she was a comedian or something. Mm-hmm. But you give all of that like fun stuff to a bunch of these other girls, including like random bit parts where characters show up that I had no clue who they were.
Yeah.
Those girls wandering around the house who eventually cut Carolyn's hair.
Yeah, those are like her best friends or something.
I guess. It was like, did we see those characters before? Because I didn't remember. I was just like, and here are some other girls.
I mean.
And now we're following them for a while. Where is Molly?
Yeah. I'm assuming that those are the two girls that when they're at the dance and Carolyn.
Oh, when they're walking down the hall and Sam's sitting there crying. They were probably there.
Yeah. And then Carolyn tells Jake that, I told, whatever the two girls' names were.
Yeah.
That, them and their boyfriends could come, but not to tell anyone else, which, of course, bullshit.
Yeah.
Because high school party in a rich neighborhood. Really wish I would have been invited to one of those.
Yeah, right. I don't know the history of like teen movies and stuff. I don't know when certain things like happened first and whatever. But I'm like, there's no way this is the first like big giant party gets out of hand while the parents are out of town movie.
Yeah.
That had to have already happened
at
that point. But it was a little like, really? This is what we're hinging the whole last like third of this movie on is the destruction of a house that I don't care about.
Yeah.
Because I don't particularly like Jake.
Yeah.
I don't hate him.
Yeah.
I'm not like, this guy's the biggest asshole. Why would she like him?
Yeah.
He's just so kind of like nothing.
Yeah.
He doesn't do much. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
There was his reaction because he comes out and he sees that his entire house is trashed. Mm-hmm. And, maybe it's a bit of being spoiled by the greatness of fucking Alan Ruck as Cameron in Ferris Bueller, where it's like the super neurotic, like, oh my God, we can't touch anything. What happened here?
Yeah.
Where it's like there's that kind of character. And so it's like, okay, so if you kind of flip the script and have it be like, okay, well, this time they're more like, oh, geez, look what happened.
Yeah.
But he's not even that.
Yeah.
He comes out and sees the house is trashed and just says, what a disaster. Like that. Not even with a hint of like anxiety or fear in his voice.
Not oh my God, what a disaster.
Yeah, or any kind of like, it almost made it seem like he was resigned to like, well, I will die. Like, this is just it. Like, either they will kill me or I will kill myself before they get home because what else is there? Especially kind of like, it really lends credence to that when he fucking gives Ted the Rolls Royce to go drive Carolyn home drunk, which is horrifying in 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was just like, no, just take the Rolls Royce. It really felt like he's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to find Sam and maybe I'll bang her and then I'll blow my brains out or something. I don't know. I'm never recovering from this.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't seem to give any kind of a shit about all that destruction.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the weirdest choice because it gives me like nothing from him as a character. It was like, what's he like? Like, I don't know. He just doesn't react.
He's kind of bland
to anything. He's cute. But that's about it.
Yeah.
He's not even like cool or suave or like making jokes or like,
There's
like
just no personality.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. And I think also a little bit of it is like the fact that he looks so old as well that made him just kind of weird where he like, I don't know. I got a really weird vibe when he like leaves his party which I thought was good too, of showing how, like, okay, you get a little bit of character from him when Carolyn is drunk as hell and like introducing them to the party, and he was just like, ugh, and he like leaves.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, so you can see that he's like, this is garbage.
Yeah,
like,
this
sucks.
isn't what I want to do.
Yeah, like she sucks and this is lame. But the fact that he doesn't take the initiative to be like, you know what? Everyone leave.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Out. Yeah, it's like he seems like he would be the kind of guy who would do that.
Yeah.
And could command that and make people be like, oh shit, okay, he doesn't want us to be here. We better go. You know, it's not like he's like, oh God, I couldn't tell everyone to leave. Like, no, he could absolutely tell everyone to leave.
Yeah.
He'd be like, get the fuck out of my house right now. I'll beat you with a baseball bat. Yeah. And everyone would be like, okay, we're going. See you later. But the fact that he doesn't take any initiative to kick him out and he just like retires to his room to get the like yearbook and kind of creep on a girl that looks way younger than, I know senior to sophomore isn't horrible.
Yeah.
But him looking like 24
yeah,
really made it seem, yeah, and her actually being 15. Yeah, it really it was like, I get why they would cast him in terms of being dreamy, and he's not like obscenely old for the role, but it's still old enough to seem off.
Yeah. Same thing with Carolyn.
Her and Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was possibly the weirdest part of this movie to me.
Yeah.
Their whole thing.
That's my least favorite part.
Did you like recall any of that?
No, I had blocked that from my memory.
Yeah, because
I knew that the whole picture part had happened.
God.
But I like blanked out the rest and like all of the context of what had happened and led to that point because I just didn't want to remember all of the jokes about rape.
Yeah. And they are multiple and like unabashed.
Yeah.
And really fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate, like I was kind of talking about earlier, where it's like, man, Anthony Michael Hall, when he looks into the camera to say, this is getting good.
Yeah.
As the like drunk girl's head falls into his lap. I was like, oof. I wrote many oofs in this movie.
Yes.
Man, if I was like 15, I'd probably be like, yeah, oh my God, it is getting good.
Yeah.
And then I'd look back on it now and be like, oh God. So at least I don't have that memory of being like, man, Jake is so cool when he says that he could violate her 30 different ways and she wouldn't even know it. Yeah. What a cool guy. I heard that line and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That is wow.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That is very it was difficult to watch. and
not feel gross.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not of the mind of like these things can never be like said.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely understand a scene where you have characters that are talking like that to each other, but the tone and the vibe and the whatever of the like movie or TV show or whatever is leading you to be like, holy shit, these guys suck.
Yeah.
Like I could see lines like that coming out of like Dennis from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
And it being like, holy shit, that is hysterical how monstrous he is.
Yes.
Because that's the point.
Right.
But in this case, you're sitting there and you're like, that guy's supposed to be cool. This guy's supposed to be looking up to him. And they're talking about fucking date raping his girlfriend.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No movie. Like if you were going to detour from Molly Ringwald, it can't be for that. That's the thing. That's the worst part of it is that it's like, okay, so the house is destroyed, but he doesn't even give a fuck. That doesn't even matter to the...
He can afford a maid.
Yeah.
A whole maid service. I'm sure
I was
going to
say, it's going to take more than a maid to fix that hole through the floor into the wine cellar.
Oh, right. That's true.
That might be a bit much for a maid to go. Imagine fucking hiring a maid and bringing her in and being like, so, chip chop. Like, what? Well, yeah, just, you got an hour. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna go do some donuts. But yeah, like that all happens and he doesn't give a shit. He gives the car to Ted and he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like none of that like matters to him, but he's so intent on seeing Sam and like dismissing his drunk girlfriend that he like no longer likes or whatever, to the point where he's like, yeah, I'll just give her to him.
Yeah.
Like, he says that, like, she won't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, and even that cutesy little moment, like, it felt gross that it was played so cutesy when she wakes up in the car and she's like, who's that? And he's like, that's me. She's like, who are you? I'm him. And she's like, okay. And it's like, she is beyond rational comprehension right now.
She needs to like go to the hospital and be checked for alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, that is full on. I have never been that blasted in my life. Like, that is insane that she's at that point, and it's like, isn't that funny? It's like, it's not. There was one thing that really boggled my mind, and it made me wonder if there was stuff that was cut from the movie, because I just did not get it. Okay, for one, what in the hell was that thing she was filling out?
Oh.
That, like, the numbered confidential test that I guess a friend of hers made?
Yeah.
To give to her? Was that just, that's all it is? Just like, oh, we're going to ask each other silly questions and we'll pass it back to each other and whatever.
Yeah.
That's all it was? Okay, because I was like.
It seemed like one of her friends was like doing like a survey of all of the friends or something. So like each girl gets this list. You have to fill the whole list out, and then had to pass it to
the girl
friend
behind her.
Yeah, the girl behind her.
I think it was Randy. I forget. I don't think they mentioned her name, but I saw in the credits. I think it was Randy.
Yeah. So Sam had to pass it to her to give back to the original friend, like in the next class or whatever.
Okay, because one of the edits, it was like, it showed the thing, like the paper and the handwriting on it, and then it cut back to like Molly Ringwald's face, and then it cut back to like a different question and someone writing on it, and then it cut back to her friend's face, and I was like, is this class doing this test? Yeah. This is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. Like, asking the students who they would bang.
Yeah.
Like, what in the, like, that obviously finally tipped me off when it fully said something like that. Because I think it was like, have you ever done it before?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, maybe it's worded like in a super informal way, but like maybe it's like a health class thing or something. I'm not sure. And then when it was like, who of the boys in the school would you bang? It was like, oh. This is just kid stuff. This isn't a school sanctioned thing.
No, this is just girls being girls.
Yeah, that weirded me out so bad. I was like, oh, this fucking school was way weird in the 80s. They got away with so much shit. But now I realize what that is. Okay, but like, so that whole thing happens. She drops it on the floor. Jake sees her drop it and pulls it to himself.
Right.
Never to be seen or mentioned again.
Yeah.
Later, when fucking Jake is talking to Ted in the kitchen when he's making him a martini, which I thought was a great bit.
Oh yeah.
That he's sitting there in this ruined kitchen making a martini, like a little bartender for him. Like that was a great little thing.
Yeah.
But he says, I thought she hated my guts. And I was like, but he has her note.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the whole point of that was that he saw it and was like, oh, hey. So when he starts talking to his friend in like the next scene after he takes the note, I was under the impression that he was like, holy hell, she's into me. What do you know about her? Yeah. But it was really just the fact that she turned around and looked at him while he was looking at her directly in her face. I thought that was hysterical when it's like, who would you do it with? And she's like, trying to subtly look over her shoulder, and when she looks, it's just like full dead on eye contact, like he was waiting for it. Yeah. And then she does the little like, oh, I was scratching my chin with my shoulder, I wasn't looking at you. Little thing, which I loved. It was a lot like Michael Cera in Superbad when he basically does that same thing. He like turns to look at her, and when she makes eye contact, he like like looks off in the distance, like he's thinking. Like, I wasn't looking at you. I was just looking around randomly.
Yeah, I was just spacing out, thinking about something.
Those like terrible little like, oh no, I'm gonna cover it up kind of things. Yeah. But it felt to me like that was the whole point, is that he finds her note and is like, oh my God, and then he's like on to her. And then to find out later that he's like, I thought she hated my guts. Like, why aren't you talking about the fact that she was like, I want to bang you? Like, is that, I know that he's all like, I'm not into it for that. Like, I'm looking for more than that. Yeah. Okay, so you're looking for more from this 16-year-old girl? Yeah. Doesn't that seem odd to you? Like, yeah, Carolyn sucks. So I'm not like bagging on you for that.
Yeah.
For being like, I don't want to be with her. It's like, okay.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, totally reasonable. But like, I guess I just kind of don't believe him.
Yeah.
As much as he says that, like, I'm looking for something more. And it's like, you're looking for this girl who like loves you. And then you're going to fucking senior year is going to end and you're going to be like, well,
see ya.
gonna hit the old dusty trail. Like, that's kind of the vibe I got out of Jake. Yeah. I don't know if like the ending is happy in the sense that, you know, she finally feels like she's, you know, with someone who cares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still seems a little shaky to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we have to talk about
Long Duck Dong.
I mean,
I was waiting to
Jesus.
see when it was going to come up.
I mean, I honestly, I don't necessarily feel like spending a lot of time on it because like everything that needs to be said about it seems to have been said. I will at least say when I looked into it, I was glad to see that in 1984, when it came out, that there were plenty of critics who were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that it was not a thing of like, oh, everyone loved Long Duck Dong and thought it was the greatest thing in the world, you know, but there were cases of people seeing it and just being like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. What is the point of this character?
Yeah, like I already have a hard enough time going back and watching like A Christmas Story and those horribly stereotypical waiters at the Chinese restaurant. Like the fact that the whole joke is that they sing it fa ra 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 ra. Like, oh my God, just let's try to get past this.
Yeah.
But the fact that Long Duck Dong shows up every like 5 minutes or so to do something else increasingly zany.
Yeah.
It's like, man, if he was allowed to just be a kid, like if like that's the worst thing. I don't even care about the like character of a foreign exchange student who lives with the grandparents for whatever reason. I didn't even fully understand that. It was like, so he's a foreign exchange student and they sent him to the grandparents to live with?
I mean,
he lives with them?
Okay, so there are programs where you can host a foreign student.
Like you don't have to already be like it doesn't have to.
Yeah,
it's not like a trade,
right?
Where it's like you get our kid, we get your kid.
Yeah,
it's just like this kid's coming. He needs a place.
He needs a host.
He needs
family.
a place to crash.
Yeah.
Okay. So it does make it was just a little odd to me. I was like, wait, he's living with these old people,
empty nesters, you know. Whatever.
I guess.
I mean, they're long time as empty nesters.
Yeah,
but
they seemed to like him until he ruined the car and all that, and then they started beating him up.
I mean,
no, understandable.
Yeah,
he did completely ruin the car apparently and drive it into, I'm assuming maybe Lake Michigan, but just a lake.
Well, he said Big Lake.
Yeah, that was why I was like probably Lake Michigan, but who knows. But like the character on its own didn't even bother me.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it was Long Duck Dong and he was so terrible. Like, you know, he was so just stereotypical and you know, like broken English and you know, that kind of shit. And it's like if it was just a kid, if it was just like, oh hey, like, I'm here. I don't really understand what's going on, but I'm not like some kind of freaky moron who just like goes buck wild for no reason and crashes cars and bangs big
drunk.
ladies. I mean, I guess it was again really just a case of like my big sort of disappointment with the movie was the fact that it was like not only have you just left fucking Molly Ringwald to just sleep on a couch for the last like 30 minutes of the movie essentially, but you filled that space where her story could be happening with date rape and Long Duck Dong. Like that is a terrible trade.
Yeah.
You need to put her front and center for the rest of that movie. That's ridiculous that she doesn't get out. Like I was expecting that. I was like, okay, and then she's gonna have to go to this party.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then it was like, nope, well, good night, honey. And she goes to sleep. Like, I couldn't believe that her story was ending with like, and then I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then we'll pick it up tomorrow. Like, what? Tomorrow?
If Long Duck Dong had to be in the movie, it should have been to get her to the party.
Yeah, really.
Not to tell Jake at the end.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I mean, it would make so much sense, too, for it to be like, Long Duck Dong is all about this chick, and she is going to the party, and so Long Duck Dong begs Sam to come with because like she has to stick with him, or maybe not even begs him, but he just goes.
Yeah,
and Sam's like, "Oh my God, have to keep an eye on this guy.
Yeah.
So she has to follow, and then she goes to the party, and maybe she didn't know it was Jake's house or something like, you could do something with it. But the fact that it was like, oh no, and these two stories just diverge completely.
Yep.
He drops her off at home and just leaves.
Yep. With the after getting food though.
Yeah, I loved that.
That the tray was still on the window. Yeah,
that the tray was on the window, and it kind of leads me into some stuff that I read about it that I thought was astounding, because I'm going to talk about the stuff that I kind of liked the best in the movie.
Okay.
And the very odd circumstances behind their existence and my questioning of John Hughes.
Oh, okay.
So the fucking thing on the door, the tray from the, the what do they call them?
Drive up?
Drive up, I guess. Yeah, I was going to say drive in, but I was like, that's a movie.
Yeah.
It's more just the roller skate restaurant. I'm sure there's a better name for it. But it's like there was a scene where they went there and got food.
Okay.
But it got cut. Okay. And it's like, okay, that shit happens.
Yeah.
But that explains why that fucking thing is still on the door. Like, it's from a scene. And it's like, oh man, I mean, that's cool and all, but I kind of liked it as this just like funny little detail where it was like they didn't just go home.
Yeah.
They had to stop somewhere. They stopped, they got food. Like it was just such a funny thing to just have happened in the past.
Yeah.
And like you didn't see it happen, but you're just like, oh, okay. And it's just this funny little detail to it.
Like, all right, I guess they got food.
Yeah.
And stole the tray.
Yeah. That's sort of the thing. Is like they got the food and then just peeled out.
Yeah.
And left the tray full of food on the door.
He's not even drunk yet.
Yeah, like that's what's like that's what I think is so funny about that. Like I loved that, and it was so funny that there's a scene that explains it, and it's like it's almost better without it.
Yeah,
I kind of prefer it that way. But the two big scenes that I thought were really great, and they felt so John Hughes. You know what I mean? Like they felt like signature. Were Sam and her dad and Sam and her mom.
Yeah,
when they like finally realize what the fuck has happened.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe we've done this.
Yeah.
And then, he sits down and has that nice long talk with her, which, I thought was really wonderful. And I read that the guy who played the dad, I forget his fucking name, had said that people had talked to him after they saw the movie and were like, oh, I wish my dad was like you. Like that was such a, like that scene of like being understanding and not being like weird about it or, like just being supportive and stuff. Like, oh, that's really awesome. Like, yeah, that is a really wonderful scene.
Yeah.
That scene didn't exist originally.
Oh.
And then there's the scene where her mom comes and apologizes to her and is all like, oh my God, I can't believe we forgot. I feel so terrible, blah, 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 blah. That scene didn't exist originally.
That's so strange.
Literally, both of those scenes came about because those actors, the actor and actress who played the mom and dad, were like, can we have a scene where like we like make up for this or something? Because the mom specifically was like, I'm described in the script as like an attentive mother. And I don't have a scene where I apologize to my daughter for forgetting her birthday?
Yeah.
That seems absurd to me. So he's like, oh, yeah, I'll write that. And then the same thing for the dad who was like, can I have a scene where like I'm like a real scene between actors and not just me being like, oh, this crazy house, all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like a scene where I can just be a human. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll write that. And it's like, how was what the fuck was this movie before those scenes were added in?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine this being a satisfying movie if that stuff wasn't in there. If it was just like, and her family still sucks.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the whole movie. Because it's like, was that moment at the end still there too? When she's like giving a thumbs up or whatever, or like waves to her dad as she's leaving with Jake, and he's like, oh yeah. Go have fun.
It must not have been.
Yeah, because he wouldn't give a shit.
She points at him and says, that's the boy.
Yeah.
Or like mouths, that's the boy.
Yeah. So it's like that couldn't have been there at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, so she just like bails on her family and hates them forever or something. Like it's a super misanthropic kind of ending. Or it's just like, and fuck my family because they forgot and they never cared.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, wow. How? What? Whoa.
You got real angsty.
Yeah. But just seemed just so strange that might not have been in there if they hadn't said something and been like, hey, can we get a little we get a little something here in this movie, make me feel a little better about myself?
That's
or
why
at least this character.
That's why the car hop scene got cut. Too much movie added.
Could have just cut the long dog shit, but whatever. truthfully, I mean, I think about it and I'm like, I don't know how much that is even necessary. I wonder if you could make a cut of this movie that makes sense without him.
Really, the only thing I can think of is
that end scene with the church and everything.
Is other than that, like, how does Jake know to go to the church?
Yeah, and you could probably just explain it away in your mind by being like, oh, he drove by and he saw his dad's fucking whatever, Aston Martin or Rolls Royce in the parking lot right there with fucking Carolyn and Ted in it, because they were parked across the street from a church at the end of the movie. They woke up, parked across the street from the church that the wedding was happening at, which I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone just has to converge on this one spot so the movie can end. I get it. But it just seems weird that it's like they drove around all night. Nothing happened to them. They didn't get pulled over. There wasn't any kind of nonsense. They just pulled into a parking space somewhere and were like, this is cool.
I mean, unless that's where they went.
Specifically, there's like, I know a parking lot near a church.
Or I know a parking lot.
I know one of those.
Maybe it's dark at night. I don't know.
Do you think they actually did it? Ted and Carolyn, whatever.
I don't think so. I think they were just both too drunk.
Like a lot of people were saying, like, and it's fucked up that like Ted banged this, like they were both like drunk kids and then like banged in a car or something. Like, what the fuck was that all about? They probably didn't.
Yeah, I assumed, like, in my head, my canon is that they didn't.
Yeah.
And they were both too drunk, because I feel like Ted wasn't drunk enough to, like, because to
be like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't remember, it's probably because it didn't happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Makes sense. I want to know where the fuck his mouth thing came from. Yeah. What the fuck was that?
Was that just like in his back pocket the whole time?
It seems like a thing that he's like supposed to sleep with.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I don't know. I never really had any kind of like orthodontia stuff like that or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't have to that extent.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so it's kind of like a sleep thing. Where was that? Did he, like, I guess it makes sense in terms of the like nerd character of being like, I'm going to a party tonight and it might be that I have to sleep somewhere, so I better bring it with me.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of thing.
Or he planned to sleep at like one of his friend's house or something.
Yeah, I guess it's possible, but it was very confusing as to what even it was at first.
Yeah.
I was like, what is in his mouth? I liked the walking the drugged up bride down the aisle bit.
Yes.
Where she's like fucking with the people and she like sits down and all that.
I need to rest.
Yeah, like that was all hysterical. The thing is that it seemed like it was leading towards this wedding isn't happening kind of thing. That's where I thought it was going.
It should have.
Yeah, it really should have. Because like when she's like completely out of it afterwards and everyone's like celebrating it, like, again, as funny as it is, like as good as she is, especially like jumping up and trying to eat the rice that people are throwing and stuff, like it's a really funny bit. It's just unfortunate that it's like, wait a minute, they just got married.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get how legal that is.
Yeah.
She was so far out of it that it's like, there's no way you could say that she was in the right state of mind to get married, even if she really, really wanted to, which it didn't seem like she did.
Yeah.
You know? But if it was
he
like. He
was just the only man that loved her for 6 months in a row.
Yeah. It just was like, oh, man. But.
It says a lot about her.
Yeah. But it did just feel really ethically dubious to be like, and that marriage stands. Like, whoa.
For the next 6 months.
I mean, I just mean in terms, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that it could be like, no, yeah, that's totally legally binding. Like, she doesn't know where she is.
Well, I mean, they would have had to get their marriage certificate beforehand.
This is just formality.
Essentially. It's just the ceremony of it.
Right. But, I mean, if she says no, then...
Yeah,
then that's like a thing. Like,
yeah, well, then you don't go through and sign the marriage certificate afterwards. That's usually how it happens.
Right.
It's the whole signing of the marriage certificate is what actually makes it a legally binding marriage.
That's just less fun to watch.
Exactly.
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Still, I mean, I guess then in terms of legality, I'll just jump back on the ethically.
Yeah.
Seemed weird. Like she could have like said no. Or decided against it. But by the time she took 4 muscle relaxers, at that point it's like there's no way anything stands up.
Yeah, no, she has made her decisions for the day.
Yeah.
And her decision was 4 muscle relaxers.
Don't blame her. And I did dig, like, I loved the sort of composition and framing of that shot where everybody drives away and then Jake's the last one there, and he waves to her and she fucking looks behind her.
Yeah.
You're like, who are you waving? Oh,
Me?
that was so great. And again, it was really another one of those, like, fuck,
you're so
she's
great.
so good and she's so like fun and like just a great character to watch. And so much time wasted on not her.
Yeah.
Like, man, bummer city.
Yeah. I am just glad that none of their clothes caught fire when they were kissing over lit candles.
On a cardboard cake. I read about that.
It was a cardboard cake. Makes sense.
Because a real cake would have like melted with all the takes and stuff.
Yeah, it would have been real gross.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an iconic shot for a reason. Like, it's a great sort of ending thing, even if it's like, but where does it go from there? You know what I mean? Like,
rest of the school year,
I guess. I mean, truthfully, I mean, that's not even really like the point of it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like you can't really look beyond the like, and she got that thing she wanted.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, and then
she
obviously
got her
in the real
wish.
yeah, and obviously in the real world, probably would not actually be like a lifetime love.
Yeah,
but for that moment, like, she got the wish, she got it is no longer the worst day of her life, like she said earlier in the movie.
Right.
So it's like, well, then I guess that's a win.
I mean, technically, it was the next day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about it. I was like, yeah, all in one day. Like, wait a minute, no. One quick thing before we head out, and it really just I have an answer, but I just needed to know if you thought it was as bizarre as I did. What the fuck was with that shot of Jake in her house when it's like after her and her dad talk, I think?
Oh,
and there's like other shit going on. It like cuts to fucking Ted and Carolyn and all that kind of stuff. And then it cuts back to her at home and she's like sitting up on the couch, I think. Like, she's like clearly, you know, like awake.
Yeah.
And it like cuts to seemingly a match cut of Jake there staring at her.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, did he find her house and just like bust in and they're going to like, you know, have a scene here? Like, oh, we got to talk quiet because my parents are asleep or something like that. You know, like, oh, what's happening here? And then it just moved on and it showed Jake somewhere else doing stuff. And I was like, okay, so like wishful thinking, kind of like dream sequence sort of thing.
I guess.
You know, like that's what I'm guessing it's supposed to be. But it was so confusing in its placement.
Yes.
Where it really seemed like it could have been him there in her house.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, how did he? Okay, so this is happening. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, what? Movie. Make a choice.
Yeah.
Quit fucking with me.
Yeah. Give him a break. It's his first movie.
Yeah, really. Also, so many music cues from shit. Like, I don't even I know the tunes for a lot of them, but I don't even know like what they're from. You know, but you hear it and you're just like, oh my God, like was that Outer Limits, right?
I think
when
so.
she goes up and sees the grandparents, like I always forget if it's Outer Limits or Twilight Zone. It's like, I don't think it's Twilight Zone, but I didn't watch those shows enough to remember.
Yeah,
I just know the tune. Like, oh yeah, that's the spooky show.
Yeah.
Like that one, the theme song when fucking Ted is first like walking up to her on the bus and stuff. Like so many pulled from pop culture music cues. I think the one that was the most on the nose was when they're at dinner with the fiance's parents. And they're like talking about the business or whatever.
Yeah.
And that music in the background is the fucking love theme from The Godfather. Like, I was like, really? They got the music from The Godfather just to make the joke of like, hey, these guys, they're like criminal businessmen guys. Like that, all of that. Like, just for that little joke. Like, holy shit.
The one thing that I did have that I wanted. Okay, two things about Anthony Michael Hall. One, his voice cracks.
Oh yeah,
perfect,
brilliant. Like I'm sure he couldn't even plan them if he tried.
Yeah,
but they're
it's perfect.
Yeah, they were perfect.
Yeah, like when he's stuck under the table and he screams Jake. that crack sounds so desperate. It was perfect. But then at the end, when he wakes up in the car and he's talking with Carolyn and he wants to ask if they had sex, he looks at her and he goes, excuse me. Like, dude, why are you saying excuse me in this situation? That's so freaking adorable and like perfectly awkward for the character.
Yeah.
Just, excuse me, you're a senior. I'm a freshman or a sophomore. I don't remember which.
I think he's a sophomore. Or no, I think he's a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he's talking to his friends, they say something about Sam not looking like a freshman. And he's like, nah, she's a sophomore. Damn. Like,
yeah.
super silly. Also, I know that it was voted as like one of the top like movie lines, like 100 best movie lines of the last 50 years or whatever the fuck, some sort of list like that. The like, can I borrow your underwear for 10 minutes? That whole thing was just like, she cozied up to him way too quick.
Yeah.
After how fucking weird he was and how many times he tried to just like mount her in that car.
Yeah.
I was like, she is so cool about this in ways she really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
She needed to fight back a little bit harder. And the fact that she does, in fact, give him her underwear is odd.
Yeah. And it's not just 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. He has it for the rest of the night and then he gives them to Jake.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she's mortified by the fact that her friend's brother paid $1 to see them. I can only imagine how mortified she would have been if Jake was like, hey, so
are these yours?
Yeah, like, oh my God. I'm surprised she didn't kill herself.
Yeah.
But I think that is going to wrap it up for the first week of John Hughes Month here on Popcorn for Dinner. A decent start.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily love it. Like I said, too little Molly Ringwald. Needed more Molly. I need more Molly.
You'll get more Molly. Don't worry.
With John Hughes Month, there's always more Molly.
Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, but this is Jeff.
And Callie.
Jake, would I dick you?